Got it.
Record.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, but that's really one of one of the main cruxes of any religion. No matter how authoritative somebody want to say or authentic they want to claim their book is, you're always going to have disagreements about what does X, Y, and Z mean. Why? Because you don't have the original authors here to tell you exactly what they meant. So that's why it's always going to be a discussion about what do these things mean. What is the true interpretation of it. Um, for example, like even this past Sunday, the scripture we've been using for actually for the last couple of weeks is, the nativity story. Pretty much every preacher around America is going to be preaching that, but you're going to hear it, you would hear a whole bunch of different interpretations of the same exact scripture because that's just how it can roll, how we can look at things, how we can see how God may be working. Okay. All right. So tonight we're just going to keep on moving through. We are still in the Torah, the foundation, the first five. All right. So we concluded last week. We're supposed to conclude it was the stories of the patriarchs. Joseph specifically gives us the reason for Israel's placement in Egypt and the circumstances that follow. So everything from Genesis, that's our prequel. That's our pre-story. So Genesis gives us the setup of how we even got to this place in Exodus or this place in Egypt. Okay. All right. I may have shown this quote before, but from John J. Collins, the author of the book that we're kind of using for our study. Out of curiosity, did anybody actually get the textbook? No. All right. Oh, one. Okay. Where to go, Sonny? Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad I'm not by myself. All right. It never hurts to build up your library. So very good. Very good. Okay. The Exodus is the most celebrated event in the entire Hebrew Bible and the event that is most important for the later identity of Israel and Judaism. So as we said, I've done it various ways in teaching this class where I've started with Exodus and then worked around. But or as opposed to start with Genesis like we have for this class, but you really could conceivably start in Exodus because Exodus is the story. Exodus is what gets them going. This is the family history, if you will. This is what puts in motion for them their relationship with God and their closeness to God. And of course, as we will start to uncover even more, the rules that God has laid down or the laws that they feel they need to follow to be in a relationship with God, the covenant. So this is really the heartbeat of it all. Okay. So, so Exodus. Exodus is book two of the Torah or Pentateuch, if you're going off Christian nomenclature. Now, Exodus is the Greek interpretation. That's the Greek name for it. And that means departure or leaving out. So Exodus in Greek means departure or leaving, right? Now, in the original Hebrew or in the Hebrew Bible, the name is actually called Shemot, and that means names. Shemot is the name in Hebrew. So remember what I said when we started even with Genesis, with Bereshit. It's always the first couple words that are going to give you the title of the book. So in Genesis, Bereshit means in the beginning. Shemot means names because that's how, if you look at the first couple of verses of Exodus, that's how it's starting. These are the names of the people. Okay. And it's a combo book, really. It's a combo of stories, it's a combination of songs or hymns and poetry. And then, really, the majority of it is laws. When you really read through Exodus, the first couple chapters will give you the story about them and their venturing out of Egypt. But the majority of it is really just rules when you really get past the first couple chapters. All right. After you get past the good stuff, you get to rules. Let me not say good stuff because I don't want to be ostracized by the synagogue. But yeah, all right. So what happened here? So what happened when we were looking at Exodus, and hopefully you looked at the first couple of chapters, and that there was a new king that arose in Egypt. All right. Sorry, my fault. Let me fix this real quick because I don't want y'all trying to copy everything all at one time. Full paw on my part. Don't worry, I'm gonna share it back in a second. Here we go. I'm sorry about that. Okay. All right. So hopefully you can see my screen again. Okay. So what happened in Egypt? So remember, we had Joseph and his people and all his family. They came down to Egypt. They were like invited guests because Joseph had saved the land, from famine. But there was now a new king who did not know Joseph. So, of course, you're going to wonder if this is a man that literally saves your nation, how are you forgotten? So, that's my question to you all. And this is not, a big essay. This is just your thoughts. You just throw them out. Why do you think Joseph was forgotten? How could a king forget about who Joseph was?
He
Can I
wasn't
just
from there.
answer? Are you waiting for somebody to raise their hand? How do we do this?
No, I called you. I saw your hand up. So go ahead.
Okay, because it had been hundreds of years after that. So Pharaoh is not just one king. Pharaoh is the title of all different kings. So there were different pharaohs that had come after Joseph passed away. The author of the book just did not name each pharaoh because I guess in that author's mind it was insignificant because after Joseph died, there were so many successions of kings that eventually you do forget because it's not Egypt's story. Because keep in
Mm.
mind the Hebrews remembered Joseph's name, remember?
Oh,
They
yes.
remember who he is. The Egyptians didn't need to remember who Joseph was because they have the mind of what have you done for me lately? So life has
Very
moved
good.
on from him. So that's how he was forgotten. He was forgotten amongst the Egyptians, not amongst the Hebrew people, or now called the Israelites. But he definitely would have been forgotten about from the Egyptians because they had populated and grown so much that they felt as if they were being overwhelmed or overtaken by these group of foreigners in their land.
Very good answer. Okay. All right. So you're going to give something, I thought.
Nah, I was just saying he wasn't from there, but that's kind of what Sonny was saying. Like he didn't have knowledge. I think that would be my answer. How he wouldn't have known of Joseph,
Who
whichever
wasn't from
whichever
there?
character
Pharaoh wasn't from there, or Joseph wasn't from there. So we ain't worried about our
the
homeboy.
Pharaoh, the new king.
Okay. Okay. And what else? Or did Sonny pretty much nail it for everybody? All right. Okay. We're gonna go with that. All right. So what's a possibility? Now, what Sonny said was very true. There was, years and years between when Joseph did his thing and of course when the Exodus story would have happened. So there could be different things. Another possibility. Now, this isn't proven, and some historians will argue against it, but the possibility was something known as the Hyksos. So what is the Hyksos? The Hyksos were an Asian or Semitic group of people that existed around like 1750 to 1550 BCE, and they ruled Egypt for a short period of time. So Egypt was a very proud land. You wanted to be Egyptian. If you were Egyptian or you wasn't nobody. Basically like you part of us or you ain't. So with them, the Hyksos was a group that was not Egyptian, but they had possibly taken over the area, and they were a little bit more welcoming to people that weren't of Egyptian blood. So the possibility, like I'm not saying there's a guarantee, but the possibility was that, you know, the Egyptians, I'm sorry, the Hyksos welcomed Joseph, who was also Asiatic and Semitic also. His family moved around from place to place. So it could have been that this foreign group that was ruling for a short period of time, were welcoming to Jacob's children. But then, it was also around 1520 BCE that the Egyptians overthrew the Hyksos and would have kicked them out and took Egypt back for itself. They made Egypt great again. So, it could be that this is a brand new Pharaoh Trump that's in who forgot what, somebody did to save him. And as Sonny said, or as both of y'all said, really, Sonny and Soul, that, you ain't my people, so I don't remember you. Possibility, is something that's been thrown out. As suggestion. as a suggestion of what could have possibly happened to have caused this. Okay. But regardless of what was the actual reason behind it or whichever, the point is that now we're in a different situation where we're no longer on a friendly territory. Okay. So the Hebrews, the tribe of Israel, and others who were not Egyptian were now enslaved because now the Egyptians are back, like I said, ruling Egypt for themselves. So whatever the reason, whether just forgotten in time or a foreign group that had taken over, it doesn't matter. The point that really gets to it is that now we're in a situation where we need to, take control of these foreigners because we need to control our land for ourselves. And we're afraid of what they could do to possibly overthrow us. And also what was implemented when you're reading the Exodus story is population control or straight up Hebrew genocide. What it was being, what Pharaoh decreed or the king of Egypt decreed for what should happen to the firstborn children. Okay. The firstborn males, I should say, I'm sorry. So, population control, we like to use, sanitized words sometimes. It was genocide. It was murder, if that's what he was going to do. Okay. All right. So what are some of the major themes of Exodus? Well, theme one of the major themes is the revelation of Yahweh or YWHW. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what that means, what that name is. You all actually say it all the time and probably didn't even realize you were saying it. And I don't mean just a song. And then, of course, the liberation from slavery. Those are the two big themes. I would probably say three, then would be the covenant if you're going to add one. So yeah, revelation of Yahweh, theme one, theme two, liberation from slavery, and theme three, you can say is the covenant. All right. So the Exodus story. Now Moses is the main character for the next four books of the entire the entire Torah is traditionally attributed to him. Now, here's the thing about Moses. It's never said specifically that Moses wrote the entire Torah, the first five books. It's just said he wrote the covenant. But because of his prominence, it's always been assumed traditionally that he was the author, but it never says that. You never see Paul's letters, and I normally say you all don't quote New Testament, especially in the Old Testament class or Hebrew Bible class. Paul's letters, he will say this is a letter from Paul. This is written by Paul. Even when you get to the prophetic letters in the Hebrew Bible, they will say, okay, this was the word that was given to me, Amos, from Tekoa, whichever. Or this was the word given to me, Jeremiah. Or I saw the Lord high and lifted up, Isaiah. You will see them make an indication of them getting a specific word and them writing it down or them passing it. You never see that with Moses except for when he gets the Ten Commandments. But it's just assumed that Moses was the author of it all. Okay. Well, traditionally. As I said, I tend to not be a literalist, so I don't specifically think that Moses wrote it all because, again, we run into the issue in Deuteronomy. How are you going to write about your own death? I get what the rabbi said, that maybe he wrote with tears in his eyes, or maybe he wrote everything except for the last few books. But if I'm trying to get out of Egypt, if I'm trying to, get out of slavery, I don't have a whole lot of time to be journaling what's happening. I need to get out. So that's my take on it, my personal take. Now, I'll leave it to you to fight it however you want to. I can't prove nothing, and technically neither can you. But we can stand on whatever we want. I'm just letting you know where I stand with it. I do not believe he wrote all for himself. He might certainly could have contributed, but every single word, pen, I don't know. But this is traditionally who's given to him because he is the main focus, if you will. All right. And that tends to happen with some of the other books within the Hebrew Bible as well, is that, they carry names because of who is the focus. For example, they'll say, David wrote Psalms. Well, he wrote some of them, and some Psalms will specify, but because, of his, the attributes or the view of him being a psalmist, we tend to think he wrote more than what he may have. So That was just little aside there. We were talking about just authorship. Okay. Now, Moses, when we're getting to the character, the person of Moses, he was not totally accepted by the Hebrews because, if you will, he was one of those house Hebrews, but he wasn't totally accepted by the Egyptians either because he smelled like the field Hebrews. All right, so he was he kind of if you're kind of looking at it, he kind of went between both worlds, if you will. So he wasn't fully accepted by both. Like the Hebrews, like, hey, who are you? You know, and then the Egyptians like, all right, bro, we can't take you out. We know who you are. So he's kind of the middle of the road character, if you will, which is really one of the awesome things about the Bible too, is that it's really, except for Jesus, you really don't get a whole lot of straight green or red characters. You don't get a lot of straight good or bad characters. Most of them are somewhere in the middle of things, because honestly, that's where we are as people. We ain't always great. We're not always saints, but we ain't always sinners either. Well, we can be when we want to be. But I'm just saying, most of the time we're kind of towing the line. So that's the thing that I do like about it, is that, authorship aside, is that the punches are really never pulled as much about the people and the characters and the heroes of the Bible. They'll straight tell you, yeah, they did this thing that wasn't good, or okay, they did this which was great. It pretty much kind of gives it to you straight out. So Moses, we know that he was a murderer. We know that he definitely had some self-esteem issues, but we also know that he could have a temper when he needed to. He could, well, if he wanted to smack you with a rock, well, he wanted to, but he didn't. But you know, he could really, get kind of gully with it when time called for it. But yet he's still the chosen deliverer. Okay, he's still the one that God had chosen for this mission, this moment. So I do have a question for you. All right, and yes, you can just take a moment, think about it, and then throw it out, or be polite like Miss Sunny and raise and put the hand up. All right, question: what is a burning bush experience? All of my ministers, have you all had a burning bush experience? Go ahead, Miss Keon. I see you up.
Pretty much it's something that I may be wrong or right. I don't know, but something that God shows you that you ask for, and He shows you, like, okay, say for instance, you want something's going on in your life, whatever. You're like, God, I need that burning bush experience, and He's like, okay, bada boom, bada bing. He shows you what's going to happen, and what might happen. I think.
I think I hear what
If
you're
I'm,
saying.
huh?
So you're saying you're praying. So it's basically like God's kind of giving you direction on something.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
I
okay.
wasn't trying to put words in your mouth. I was just trying to make sure I'm getting to the core of what you're saying.
Yes, like pretty much say like you asking God for to show you something, and He like you have something going on in your life, and you like, okay, God, I need you to give me a burning bush experience like you did with Moses, and he's going to show you what He wants to show you, not everything. If I'm making it clear,
You said if you're making it clear, or God making it clear.
I'm making it clear to you if I'm explaining it right.
Okay, I think I got. I think I got what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
All right. Go ahead, Miss Willis.
I believe Sister Mary, Minister Mary was next.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mary Gray. Yes.
Oh, there you go. I'm sorry. How you doing, Prophet?
Yes, that's my prophet.
In short words, I would just say a supernatural encounter
Mm.
with God.
A supernatural encounter with God. Okay.
Yeah, and somewhat inexplainable.
Mm.
Yes.
Break that down for me a little bit more. You said a supernatural experience that is kind of unexplainable. You mean that only you and God will understand it, and it may not make sense to me when you're trying to interpret it to me?
It could be that.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah. Well,
Oh, how did you mean it? I want to make sure I'm capturing what you're saying.
yeah. right now, and I just can't break it down other than, it's beyond our natural
Mm-hmm.
understanding of the way things are supposed to work in this world. But then again, supernatural is out of the realm of
Okay.
the natural. Yeah.
All right. Very good. I think I got you. Hi, little baby. Okay, Miss Sunny. How are you?
Mhm.
I'm going to piggyback off of Prophet Mary Gray. Supernatural is the word because I'm just going to share a brief story and hopefully this will help capture what I'm saying. I had a very supernatural moment with God. I had given him a promise and it was my heart's promise. So I knew that this was something that I was going to keep. But then you know how life has challenges and you are faced with this decision to make. And I was faced with a decision. As I'm driving along the street, I am crying and I'm upset and, I'm just coming all apart. And I could hear the audible voice of God saying to me from the back seat of my car, I thought you said you trusted me. I pull over and I turn to look back because I know I'm the only one in this car, but I hear him speaking to me. That was the beginning of a relationship where, and this is going to freak y'all out. I probably shouldn't even tell you. But last week, when I was on this call, the reason I was really hesitant about leaving the call is because I knew what the call was for. I have this gift where I know when people are leaving. He will come to me and tell me when people are leaving. I know that sounds really crazy and creepy and spooky, and I probably shouldn't share this, but my family doesn't like when people get sick and I go to visit because they think I'm coming to let them know that God is
Mhm.
calling them home. So
Mhm.
I knew what was happening before it actually took place last Wednesday, and I really wanted to participate in the conversation last Wednesday, but I knew that I couldn't because I knew what my assignment was. So that's why I had to drop. But there's a knowing, it's something that's internal that you know that is him beyond any doubt. Like there's a assurance, a convincing, there is something so concrete that you know that it is not your own consciousness speaking to you. You know that it is not some outside interference, but it's something that he is downloading into you that you know that it is him speaking to you. And that's me, my relationship with him. And it is always the same. There's a feeling. And when he speaks to me that way, I always have this one question, which I won't share with you all. And that question comes from within and he answers it. And I know that therefore is him. So like with the burning bush with Moses, when Moses saw that bush burning, but it was not being consumed, he knew that it was something supernatural, something out of the ordinary. And so when God started speaking and telling him, take off your shoes because the place you're standing on is holy ground, there's something in you that doesn't scare you, but it blows your mind. It takes
Mhm.
you to a whole new place. For example, when Isaiah was talking about the presence of God filling the temple, there's when you feel the presence of God is so overwhelming, it is so consuming that you feel smaller than the smallest thing on this planet because then you realize just how large God is, right? That he is very real. So that thing about the burning bush, it is something that you know that you really can't, there's no human words that can truly explain it. Like there's no human words that can really describe the excellence, the awesomeness of God. But we attempt in our own human nature. The same way with this burning bush experience, this supernatural thing, you can't really pinpoint or state, well, it's XYZ, but you do know that it is God. You
Mhm.
know, like for example, I know when God is speaking to me.
Mm.
Like there is no doubt in my mind, and I move forward with this assurance, this supernatural confidence that, yeah, he is backing me and this is what I'm doing. So, example, last week, I had to get off the call. I did not want to get off this call because I already knew what it was because he had already told me the night before, this is taking place. And when my phone kept ringing, I was like, I already know what that is, and I don't want to leave the call, but I could hear him saying, answer the call. And it's just something I don't know how to really explain it, but I'll say the word supernatural, and I know I'm sounding real
You got
creepy
it
and
then.
freaked out.
No.
Hmm.
I hope I don't come across that way because I'm not that way. It's just that I do spend a lot of time in the presence of God. So when he's speaking, I my ear, like my spirit quickens to his voice. I know it now, so it is not a thing of a question, but it's an assurance. That's the only word that I can really use. It's an assurance. It's this confidence, a spiritual confidence that lets me know that this is him talking to me. Like I know this is him. So yeah, I never knew that they called it the burning bush experience, but that's a great way of putting it. It's something supernatural that doesn't happen every day. It doesn't happen just out of the ordinary. This is something that makes God stand out because he's doing something that no one can do. You understand what I'm saying? I'm so sorry. I probably confused her even more.
Well, my first question is, are you clergy?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
I'm just an evangelist. That's it.
You're an
That's
evangelist,
clergy.
not just an evangelist. You're an evangelist, sis.
Fivefold ministry, the one that goes furthest. Yeah.
Yeah. May I share this? I just, when Sonny started talking about her encounter with God, I want to just share on my 60th birthday, and I had a big birthday party. But during that time, I was clinically depressed. And my sister asked me what color balloons I wanted at my birthday party. And I told her I wanted light blue, a medium blue, a light purple, and a dark purple. So they bring the balloons in. My sister comes to me and she says, Mary, after most people are gone, we're going to take these balloons outside and let them ascend to heaven. So we went out, released the balloons. The light colored balloons went to the right. The dark colored balloons went to the left. And everybody was in awe. But then further along, in the back of me, my cousin says out of her mouth, I'll be too through if those balloons all come back together. And the moment she released that out of her mouth, they did that. I could share some more things that are out of this world and inexplainable, but it solidifies, oh, Jesus, the relationship that we had with our personal God. And those types of things are just ingrained in us indelibly. And whatever we go through after these encounters, we stand firm. It helps us to stand firm.
Amen. Thank you. Well, I'm gonna say this. You all definitely took this question different than what I expected, but I like it though. I love it though. I know I'm not. Listen, I'm not being shady. Please understand, I am not being shady. I saw a couple laughs. I'm not. I'm just saying that I've done this class about 6 times, and each time I've asked, I've never heard answers like this. But that's great though, because that means that we all have different ways of looking at or understanding. That's good. That's what we want. Okay. That's part of the reason why we do the Midrash assignments or works in class. But how I was going though, you all kind of hit on it that a burning bush is it's a divine encounter. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
when we're looking at the story specifically, when we're looking at Exodus, this is where God reveals who God is to Moses. Now, you're also right. It can be a moment where God reveals who he is to you or what your call is as well. As Sonny kind of had touched on what her call is or how she feels that God uses her. That's all encountered within a burning bush experience as well. And of course, it's a metaphor. So burning bush, metaphor today, meaning like today we can use it for like hearing or receiving a call from God. When we bring ministers on or clergy on in church, that's probably one of the questions we ask. What was your burning bush experience? Just give me the heads up, Soul, because you're at MIT. I know there's probably another 1 or 2 MITs in here. They will probably ask you that when you come before the group. What was your experience? What lets you know that God had his hand on you? All right. So with a burning bush experience, when we're looking at what happened here in the story itself, is that let me also preface this. I did not go deeper on the prophet and on Reverend Sonny because for the sake of time, because we could really that could have been the whole class. But for the sake of time, I'm just powering through. I do appreciate you all sharing. I'm not ignoring. I'm just powering through. That's all. Okay, so when we're looking at the burning bush experience, specifically in Exodus, God is motivated by the suffering of Egypt. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me back up. One more thing I did want to add to this, and it's funny because I had it in my notes, but I took it out. I'm like, I probably won't get it to it. But Sonny kind of hit on it as well. A burning bush experience repels you and intrigues you at the same time. You're scared of it. Like Moses saw the bush. He's like, oh, that's interesting, but I'm going to back up. But then God called him closer. Take off his shoes, of course, but called him closer. A burning bush experience can frighten you, can push you back, but yet there is still a draw in it. There is still something that wants you that pulls you. The voice of God will pull you closer in it. Is how we can also look at a burning bush experience. Sorry, I know I had this on this slide, but I took it out. But yeah, it's a repelling but attractive call at the same time. Okay, so what I was saying here about with Moses' specific call. So God, he's motivated by the suffering of Israel. And when you look at the quotes, he says, listen, I've seen the affliction of my people, and I have heard them their cry. I know their sufferings, and I've come down to deliver them. I spell terribly. So with that, it's like God has senses about what's happening. He's physically seeing their suffering. He's audibly hearing their cry, and he is personally knowing their suffering. So all that to say that, how we can look at a burning bush experience is that however God's leading you is how you felt led by God is something that God is also personifying, also that's something that God understands. God does not send you where God has not already been. I know that's kind of off of our class, but with all that to saying that with the burning bush experience, God sent Moses because what happened to his people mattered to Moses, but also mattered to God. What normally matters to God is going to matter to you too. Okay, for any call. And vice versa. If it matters to you, especially if it's about justice or taking care of people or helping people, it's going to matter to God as well. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So
excuse me.
yes.
I think it's the phrase, I don't know if it matters, but it kind of pulled me where it says, and when Moses turned.
Turned. Okay.
Yeah. In this Bible, it says to see the bush, then God reacted. So it just caused me to say, pay attention. Maybe, I don't know.
You said the word turned.
Yeah, when Moses turned, I don't know what verse that's in exactly, but he says when he turned. Well, anyway, I thought, well, maybe his attention was somewhere else, but then when the burning bush appeared, it said he turned.
Can I pause you real quick? Because what you're doing is actually something that we're going to start kind of working on now, but it's definitely going to be another class. You're doing what's called exegesis.
Oh, excuse me.
Huh?
I said, excuse me. AEXEG.
Exegesis is EXE.
Okay.
Hold on, I'll put it in the chat for you.
Go on and move on.
No. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing, but I wanted to share.
Okay.
Exegesis, and that's what all of us really should be doing. Exegesis is I put in how to spell it in the chat. Exegesis is when you're basically going line by line, word by word within a scripture, trying to determine the meaning of what the author is trying to say. So you said turn toward. That would be an exegetical phrase that you would have to study. What does that mean to turn toward?
Okay.
So that's good that you caught that. That you're right, because what is the meaning behind it? What does that phrase exactly mean? So that's a good thing. So keep doing that, because that's going to pay you off later. So just whenever you see certain words, I'm like, huh, what does this phrase mean? What does this, why is it written this way? That's a good thing. Underline all those words, all those things that kind of jump out to you. I hope all that made sense what I just threw out there real quick. But yeah,
Yeah.
but that's going to be part of a later class, though, doing exegesis. But keep working on it now, though. When you see certain words, like, what does this mean? Okay, so as we said that, God's affected by the same thing that Moses is affected by. God cares about everyone who suffers and who is oppressed. God is not indifferent towards a suffering. Okay, so God pays attention to everything. Okay, I will say this for the majority of the Hebrew Bible, especially when people try to argue about, well, God, this matters more about God, or he Leviticus says no, you shouldn't do this. The majority cares about, and what the prophets emphasize that God cares about is the people. Are people that are underprivileged, are they being taken advantage of? Are people being exploited? Is justice being implemented to everyone? God cares more about justice and about being fair and about being equal than anything else when you read the totality of the Hebrew Bible. And here's where it really starts. God cares about what these people are going through. Okay? So when people I judge any church, any pastor off of how are you seeing God? How are you interpreting God? If God is fine with, $1 million, mansions or ballrooms added to certain houses, and has no care about people that can lose their health care, that's not a God of justice. That's a God I don't recognize. That's a God of us. So what does God really care about? God cares about all of us having a chance. God cares about the least of us, okay? And really, there is no least of us, but he cares about all of us being on the same playing field. All right, that's my soapbox. All right, so when God calls us, I think we already said this, he calls us to what we both are passionate about. If it's a passion that burns inside you, guaranteed it's a passion that God has as well, as long as it's not being wretched. But yeah, if it burns inside you, if it's something that really moves you, you're more than likely getting that from God, because God is moved by that as well. Okay. Shalise, she's a missionary. She's been a missionary for pretty much her whole life. She knows how to pull people in. She can get people from anywhere and bring them in. I'm not calling you out, soul, but case in point. That's a passion of hers. Could that also possibly be a passion of God, of pulling in anybody from anywhere and letting them know you're welcome here? Because listen, and I'm sorry, I hope she don't share this YouTube with all her friends, or Shannon had brought some hard looking ones in, but she made it known that this place is where you are safe. That's her ministry. That's one of her ministries. She lets you know you are safe here. Come as you are welcome. This is where you need to be. And they listen. That's the thing about it. They listen to her. They follow her. That's her ministry. But if that matters to her, I'm pretty much guaranteed that matters to God as well. Okay? Shout out to Shandy's friends who might be watching this. But yeah. But yes, I mean that's her thing. She brings in everybody. It doesn't matter the background, whatever. She always shows them there is a place for you here. Okay. All right, moving on, because I do want to get to the last thing. All right, so what God also does in this incident is he reveals his divine name to Moses. Okay, or Yahweh, it means I am, or I am that I am, or I will be what I will be. So it's either I am that I am, or I will be what I will be. It's disrespectful to utter God's proper name. It's kind of like calling your mother or your father by their first name. Now, I know I do it messing around with Karen Johnson just to play around with her, but it's normally a sign of respect to call them mother or father or whichever. I say normally. I know we can get to, different relationships, but generally speaking, we're talking about God Almighty here.
Grandma Core. So what if you have that kind of relationship with your child that they, it's not a bad thing. It's just how they say they just call your name. Like it's y'all relationship.
I was just giving an example. I wouldn't say it's a hard and fast rule, but this is still. But if we're talking about God, the creator of the world, I seriously doubt when you get to heaven, you're gonna go up there and say, "Hey Yahweh, how you doing?" Right. When you finish crying and get up off the floor, then you probably Father God and Almighty and everything else like that. But yeah. So yes, it's normally disrespectful to utter God's proper name. So that's why instead we say, God or the Lord, or if you're Jewish, Hashem, which is the Hebrew word for the name, okay, of God. His name is also a verb because God is a God of action. I am is a verb, or eyah, as it is within the Hebrew Bible. That's a verb. So the difference between a verb and a noun. A noun is just an object, a thing, a place, a law, whichever. A verb is an acting word like run, talk, jump. So God's name is something where it's in motion, if you will. Now I told you that you probably have used this name all the time before. How many of y'all use the word Jehovah? Jehovah Jireh? Jehovah Nisi?
Mm-hmm.
That's Yahweh. It's just translated from German. Because within Hebrew, there are no vowels. It's just, ways that they'll have little tittles how things can be pronounced, but there is really no vowel system like A, E, I, O, U like we have in English. So when the German scholars were looking and they were trying to, figure out, okay, what does this mean? They did add the vowels into it of what, how it could have been pronounced. But of course, then German, W is not pronounced, what like it is with us is but. Okay. So that's why how you get, Yahovah. Did it make sense? I didn't lose y'all, did it? Okay. Sonya, saw your hand up. Oh, you good? Okay, don't worry about it. All right, so with the last couple minutes we got, now this was the Midrash assignment. So this was part of your homework. Supposed to read Exodus 3. Now, here's the question, and this is how we're going to leave out for tonight. So you don't have homework for Christmas. Did God harden Pharaoh's heart, or did Pharaoh harden his own heart? For the sake of time, we're just going to keep everybody in the same group. Okay, so I'm not going to split y'all up. So did God harden Pharaoh's heart, or did Pharaoh harden his own heart? When you think about the Exodus story.
What do
you think?
Didn't you say the third thing was a combination of the two?
You all said that.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It started with Shalice and Soul. They the first one to say we could argue both of them. They started.
Ricky, I got it in my notes. Minister Murray is right.
What?
And you added, or is it a combination of the two?
Isn't that in the PowerPoint? Isn't that in the PowerPoint?
Yes, that's what I got.
This is the PowerPoint. I just moved the slide. I might say at the very end. You're blaming me. It's my fault. Okay,
I'm just supporting my fellow Bible study partner here. I got it in my notes too.
Y'all slick. Okay, so fine. Which is it? Yeah. I'll oblige you.
I have some thoughts, but I want to hear from somebody else other than myself.
Well, if anybody else is gonna talk,
They will.
So you know me, I'm
y'all
always.
got 7 minutes. I'm gonna get my 7 minutes. So
Oh, okay. So for me, I believe in the beginning, his own pride hardened his own heart, but then it got to the point
Pharaoh's
where,
on pride.
yes, Pharaoh, and
Okay.
then God had to say, "Listen, you still ain't getting it together. Let me just go ahead and shut this thing down." And since you learned, and also at the end of the day, God was in control. He told him he gonna say no 7 times, so he knew that the heart was hard in the beginning anyway. So it's both of them.
Wait, so if God knew, did that mean God did it?
Influence.
There's a slight difference.
It is.
Because I can know, but it doesn't mean I made you do
I mean, he's in control. So
6, 7.
it. 6, 7. Okay. I just finally found out what that was. I'm like, what is this? But anyway,
kids.
yeah, kids. All right. So what was it? Was it God? Was it Pharaoh? Was it both of them?
Both of them. I said that from the beginning.
That's you. I want to hear what somebody else had to say.
Oh, I thought you were still talking to me. My bad.
No, I want to talk to you. No, I'm talking to the other people on mute.
Saying, I believe that God knew in advance that Pharaoh's heart was going to be hardened. And so he turned him over to that after a while, because God knows who's wicked. He knows the hearts of man. He knew that Pharaoh's heart, he was going to be like, no, because he's so prideful. He will just like you said, Queen. Yes. I think it was a partnership there. And I don't want to say partnership, but it was a combination. God had already said, well, hey, look, you ain't going to move from this. I already know where your heart is. So boom, let's settle this matter. Because he was going to get the glory anyway. That's just how I'm thinking. I know that. And I've done a lot of research and looking over this. And some people say, well, God did it. But God looks for willing people, right? Okay, so I'm honestly believing that Pharaoh was willing to have his heart hardened because he already started off that way. So it wasn't much for God to harden his heart, to give him the desire, turn him over to the desires of his heart. I don't know. Somebody else can jump in here.
Well, I want to jump in. And when I thought about, the heart, certainly there's the physical, but then metaphorically, I looked at the definition, and I'll read it. It represents the core of a person's emotions, character, or being, symbolizing love, courage, kindness, passion, and the center of one's inner self rather than the physical organ. It signifies deep feelings, true personality, and moral qualities as seen in the phrases like a big heart, which means you're generous, or you wear your heart on the sleeve where you show your emotions, every little thing that happens. And then I thought about what Jeremiah had to say about the heart, that it's deceitful and desperately wicked, and who can know it but the Lord, because he searches our heart. And and it brought to mind also what we say when we're doing things, and most often you hear it when we know we're doing the wrong thing. Well, God knows my heart. We play that card. But I'm in agreement with a combination of two, that the king of Egypt, or Pharaoh, his heart was hard. So with every plague that God sent, I think, was it 10 of them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There were 10, I found out that there were 10 or 11 places in Exodus that aligned themselves with when we read, and God hardened the heart of Pharaoh. So it's like God sometimes says, okay, your will be done,
Permission.
and not mine. You don't want mine, I'm going to give you
Mhm.
what you want. So, yeah, I kind of believe that, no, I do believe that God gave Pharaoh or let him have his hardened heart.
Okay. I'm not looking for consensus. I want to hear your opinion. I want to hear
That's,
what do you think.
that's my opinion.
I got you. I'm just talking. I know you gave yours. I was just talking in general to everybody else that has not spoken. Because
Um,
Kiana's got closer to the camera and Kim Minister's looking very, very thoughtful, very pensive.
No, I thought it was both.
Okay.
Um, I thought it was both. And even when it talks about, how Pharaoh ordered the murder of all the Hebrew boys, that's the sign of a hard heart. And I believe that God had a part of that hard heart. But I also believe, like what I was telling you earlier, remember how Moses was kind of skeptical about going to Pharaoh.
Mhm.
Um, in the beginning, he was like, who am I to go and blah, blah, blah. I believe that because one, Pharaoh had the hard heart, and two, I believe that God's motivation to push Pharaoh, to push Moses to go to Pharaoh was because he knew God, but because he knew Pharaoh's heart was hard, but that, like Sonny said, in the end, his glory was going to be revealed. So, yes, you're going to go to this man and his heart is going to be hard, but in the end, things are going to work out the way I orchestrated them to work out in the end. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm saying it the way I'm feeling it.
I think I understood you.
I understand.
If
Okay.
anybody was confused, please raise your hand. But no, I thought I understood what you're saying.
Because I think I'm feeling like, God continued to push Moses to motivate Moses to go ahead and do what I'm telling you to do, regardless as to what you see,
Mhm.
regardless as to how this man is responding or has responded. You do what I tell you to do.
I
Does
got
that
you.
make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah. I, I'm using you so I can prove a point.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm asking. Was that what you're saying?
Yes, basically.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
my glory can shown. I'm gonna make
Yeah,
an
yeah,
example out of you.
yeah. So yes, his
Okay.
heart was hard, and yes, God kept it hard because he had at the end of the day, a purpose needed to be fulfilled through Moses.
I got you. All right. Who I ain't heard from? I ain't heard from Kiana and Soul. Now I'm assuming both of y'all did the homework assignment now.
All right, so like I was saying, I do believe it's a combination as well. So I was looking at it from where,
Oh, you taking the easy way out. Pick one.
I'm saying, combo. When Pharaoh is like, who is this God that I should listen to him, it's showing that his heart is already hardened towards something that's different from what he's ruling as. And then I consider when he had obliged, right? And then they started to flee, and then he like, no, I'll get him. Right. So in my opinion, that was the moment where God hardened his heart because he had a miracle he was trying to perform at the sea. And in the verse in Exodus 7:3, it says, and I will harden Pharaoh's heart and multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt. And so I do feel like it's a combination. A lot of what was already said, that if you're already dealing with somebody's heart that's hardened, he gave him opportunity. He want to oblige, and even when he did, he went back on his word, and so God still got his glory. Yeah. So combo.
Okay. 6, 7 thing.
Yeah.
Wow. That's not your fault. That's her. Okay. I heard what you said before I got distracted though. All right. Miss Freeman.
hate trying to explain my things because I always get confused. But pretty much, mine was just pretty much everybody's. As I listen to everybody else's answer, I feel like it's both because, like Brittany said, it's. I'm trying to explain this right. It's like he said, who are you? Or he didn't believe in the God. He was like, why are you telling me what to do when I don't want to do it? If that makes sense.
It makes sense. I get what you're saying.
Right. So, and I don't know what version that Brittany had, but in my NIV version, he was like, the misery of the people, he heard them cry out because of the slave driver. It was to me, it was on both ends. Because Pharaoh wanted to do his own thing, but God wanted him to do what he wanted him to do. That makes sense?
The reason why I'm looking strange because like all y'all paused for like a good couple seconds, so I missed that little bit that you said right in the middle. And I was trying to make sure it wasn't just you, it was me.
Okay. I feel like to me it's like Pharaoh wanted to do his own thing, but God wanted him to do something else. So he was like, to me, I'm with everybody else, it was a little bit of both.
Okay. So you're saying a little bit of both?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. All right. We're going to close. That was my last slide. So there is no definitive answer because we've been arguing this for thousands of years. So there is no definitive answer, really. There's a couple things to consider, though. One, Pharaoh thought he was a god. Egyptian pharaohs thought they were God incarnate. Thought they were a god of Egypt. So this is really, a contest. Who are you? I'm a god too. So, and I've never heard of you. You ain't got enough people. So it was a battle. He thought he was a god, Pharaoh. So that kind of shows some of his character and some of the decisions he's going to make going forward. The second thing, and this is also very, very, very important and key for the Hebrew Bible. They believed, as I've said it before, God was the source of both good and evil. If good happened, it's because God allowed it to happen. God did it. If bad happened, it's because God caused it. So reading the scripture and then it's saying God says, I will cause Pharaoh's heart to harden. Well, that reflects also how they viewed God operating. Between, did God intentionally make this happen to prove a point? Or did God just knew he was going to happen because God knows everything? Which is it? Now, I'll just do those little tidbits out there. There's not a definitive answer. Like I said, you can argue this both sides and you can try to, fight both sides of it. I just wanted to see what you all were thinking. And I loved what you all gave. You all thought it out, and I do appreciate it. That's always what I'm looking for. It's not always right or wrong. It's what do you think? How do you process it? How are you thinking through the scripture? Okay. So good job on everyone. I do appreciate y'all giving me an extra 6 minutes, but you're going to be off for the next 2 weeks with Chris. So we do have our Christmas celebration this Sunday at 10 a.m. And then we have New Year's Eve celebration at 10 p.m. on the 31st, calling the community, the Legacy Choir again. If you can sing or know how to hold a note in the background, please join. Oh, I saw a head nod. Okay, never mind.
You ain't gotta know how to sing. Just stand in the back.
Oh, you ain't gotta know how to sing?
Key off.
I'm coming. Oh. Let me stop recording.
So yeah.
She know I said it.
That's what I called out Jasmine and Jamal. I did.
Yeah, just go to the back row, not close to the mic.
Your daughter-in-law can sing, so she should be up there.
Yeah,
Regina can sing. I want you to see this, Regina. You can sing, so yeah, she need to be up there with them and the praise chorale. Kristen too. Yeah, so yeah, hopefully they'll be up there. I'm gonna be in the back with the tenors though, so don't get mad at me.
Pastor Ricky.
Yes, ma'am.
We can have the closing prayer, and those that need to leave can leave, but